Hi everyone, it is that time of year again, so we're looking into examinations which are going to be starting within the next week. So it's my duty to send you some training with regards to exam invigilation and what it requires, and any queries or any concerns about the process after you have watched this, please get in contact with me. First of all, thank you very much for either coming back and being an exam invigilator or giving your name forward to join the team, and hopefully we'll have a very productive and hassle-free and incident-free exam series ahead. So the examination room this year will either be using supervised study or sixth form centre. The regulations really just state that we just need to adhere to the JCQ rules, which are that students are 1.25 metres apart from centre of desk to centre of desk, and that is the requirements with regards to PHA and Department of Education as well. With regards to COVID, everybody's just pretending it's gone away, but what we're going to do is we're going to ensure that windows can be opened, both doors can be opened with regards to the examination hall to try and maintain some type of ventilation. The hall gets quite warm at this time of year, so that shouldn't be an issue as well. We are going to try and have hand sanitisers on the entrance, and that will probably mostly be for the exam invigilators to use as and when they require it. Students are well aware of the regulations that we're going to talk through in a minute. I have been to every single year assembly, so year 11 to 14 will be doing exams, and I have been to all of their year assemblies to go over the regulations. I have also sent the regulations out via Firefly to them as a PowerPoint, so I've talked over it with them again, and their parents are also aware of the regulations. The main thing is they have to be required to turn up to the exam hall at the correct day, at the correct time, with the correct equipment. I have informed them that we are not stationery supplier and we will not be giving out any extra stationery, and I have also informed them that they need to write in black ink and preferably not a rub-out pen, because the ink disappears whenever they're heated up. So students are well aware of the need to bring all the provisions with them. They're also well aware that there are no mobile phones, watches or electronic equipment present in the exam hall. That means that they should not be anywhere near them. They should not be on their person at all. I have asked that they leave them at home or leave them locked in a secure place, for example their locker, for the duration of the exam. I have also informed them that if a mobile phone or a watch or any electronic equipment is found to be on their person, even if it's turned off, that I will report it to the exam board, and normal practice would be to disqualify that student from that examination. So they're aware of the consequences of it. Invigilators, it's a new regulation now that there should be no mobile phones in the exam hall with the invigilators, except for the chief invigilator. So may I ask that you leave them at home or leave them in your car, or leave them down at front of house for the duration of the exam. I would ask that you try and maintain some social distancing between yourselves as staff, and also between students, that you don't have to stand beside a student for longer than necessary, and that you don't have to be in too close a proximity to them. I'm trying to make sure that there's adequate spaces at the front and the back of the hall for you to stand, and you can circulate yourselves well around it. In an ideal situation, there'd be more distancing within yourselves as a team, so that if one of you happened to get COVID, that we're not going to risk losing the whole exam team because of it. So it's just trying to make sure that we have procedures in place to allow for that. Please feel free to wear a mask. I can supply aprons as well, the plastic aprons, although again, as I said before, they're quite noisy, so I'm not sure how good they would be in an exam hall, and I can supply gloves as necessary. So please don't feel that you can't wear a mask or gloves to minimise risk of anything, catching anything, and please speak to me if you're not sure about that. Invigilators have to help with room setup, and there are two sessions for these exams. There are the AM exams and the PM exams. So AM, I would expect that invigilators were present in the hall from at least 8:45 to help with exam setup, and that will be normally, that would be kind of regulated and instructed by the chief invigilator at the time. PM exams, they set up from 1:00 PM as well. It is the invigilator's responsibility to make sure that they have the correct papers and to make sure that they have the right exam boards present, etc. and that is necessary to do a 2 pairs of eye check. There will be forms to fill in whenever papers are being opened to ensure that the 2 pairs of eye check is being documented in case we get an inspection at a later stage. I would also require that invigilators would need to walk around the room and check after the room has been set up that the correct papers are on the correct desks, and I would request that at least one extra individual does that. So again, we're having 2 pairs of eyes check on the papers that are on the desks to try and minimise the chance of a student getting a wrong paper. This is especially important whenever we have different tiers, so either a foundation or a higher tier, and different papers within the exam hall, and that is probably the majority of the exams that we have this year. Additional materials such as graph paper, tracing paper, etc. can also be placed on the desk at the start of the exam to try and minimise having to walk around the room and give it out to students during the exam session. During the exam, your role as an invigilator is to keep an eye on the students. Please do walk around the room. Please take time to walk up and down the rows and make sure that there is no inappropriate behaviour going on. And if there is any behaviour that you are concerned about, please contact me or report the student to me. Your other role is to escort students to the toilet. They have been informed that they have to be in the hall for at least 1 hour of an examination and that they're not allowed to leave in the last 15 minutes of the exam. So they're aware of that, and to be honest, if it's coming near the end of the exam, I would just ask that the student holds on, or that you could say to them, look, your exam's over in 5 minutes, please hold on. Please report any students to me who are frequently leaving to go to the toilet. I'm going to have a log in the exam room where we can keep an eye. It's called the toilet log, but I can't think of a better name for it in the minute. And so if we just keep a register of who is going out to the toilet, and I can try and pick up if there are frequent offenders and speak to the students about it. Your other role is to provide materials if required. So if a student requires an extra booklet, or if their pen runs out and they require an extra pen, we will be sympathetic to that need and provide it for them. Please also be aware of students who need prompted. They will be sitting towards the front of the hall. And also this year we have more students who have supervised rest breaks. This is instead of students having extra time. In general, those students will also be seated at the front of the hall, and in general they will have a little card present where you can write down if they are taking a supervised rest break. That means that they let the invigilator know, they shut their paper over, and the invigilator times a break for them, so say for about 5 minutes, and then that time can be added on at the end. To try and make that easier for invigilators to keep an eye on, each student who has a supervised rest break will get a little card on their desk where the invigilator can write down the start time of the break and the end time of the break, and then the total time to be added at the end. And that just means you're aware of that extra time whenever it's a bit more sporadic. At the end of the exams, the students have been informed that they remain seated, that they do not even think about moving until instructed to do so by an invigilator. The invigilators will collect the papers by row as instructed by the chief invigilator. And once the papers have been collected, students can then be dismissed by each row, again by the chief invigilator. Students have been reminded that there will be other exams going on in the exam hall at that time, and also some students will have extra time, and as such they have been informed that they must leave in a very quiet manner, and I have told them not to talk until they get to the bottom of the stairs. I'm not sure they'll listen to that, but that has been my instruction to them. The invigilator's role is then to help with checking exam papers. In general, they are organised in order of candidate number as shown on the attendance sheet. There will be some students who are missing because at the first end of the exam, because they are sitting extra time, but a space should be left for them. All papers should be accounted for before any invigilators leave the examination hall, and before any students basically should ensure that everything has been handed in. Students should not be walking out of the exam hall with any pieces of paper, with any formula booklets or any booklets at all. Everything should be left within the hall to try and minimise the risk of something going missing. It's a bit of a quick, brief overview of exam invigilation, but some of you are well versed in it, and the rest of you I know will be brilliant anyhow on the team. If you have any queries at all before you get started, or any questions, no matter how small, please feel free to message me or to email me in advance, and I will try and help you as best I can. In the meantime, thanks very much for helping with this exam series, and